train. The Ohio State youth movement is embodied by freshman sensation Jimmy Jackson. Ohio's Player of the Year has lived up to his billing. Norm Stewart has guided Missouri to number 7 in the country. Leading scorer Doug Smith is serious about keeping the momentum on Mizzou's side while he takes his Tigers into the paint. However, Larry Finch's Memphis State Tigers are by no means a pushover. Leading scorer Elliot Perry likes to take the long route to the hoop. Following Sports Center, last year's Pac-10 Freshman of the Year, Don McClain, hopes to pick up where he left off, as the Bruins hope their powerful front court can make their point. But the Bulldogs love to let it fly at Salle Arena, with super sophomore Wilbert Hooker leading the way. The Bulldogs hope to claw their way past the Bruins. A triple header next.
The city of New Orleans is pumped up, and why not? It's Sugar Bowl week down here in the Crescent City, where Miami and Alabama will tee it up on Monday. So what do they do to celebrate while they wait? They play basketball. Any excuse for a party in New Orleans. Tonight, it's LaSalle and Ohio State in the first game of the Sugar Bowl Classic. Hello, everybody. I'm Barry Tompkins, along with Dan Bonner. And Dan, tonight, no question, we're going to see one of the premier players in the country. He plays for LaSalle. Name is Lionel Simmons, and he might be struggling just a little bit right now.
He might be struggling a little bit, Barry. Anytime that a player is shooting 40% from the field, you have to say, well, maybe he's struggling. But he's one of the country's premier players. Coming back from last year where he finished number 3 in the country in scoring, number 5 in rebounding. Truly one of the country's outstanding basketball players. At 6'7", he actually plays a power forward for LaSalle. Very good moves around the basket. He's got three-point range. He runs very well. Those are his stats. A lot of guys would like to struggle like that. He's still an outstanding player.
No question about it. Tonight he gets Ohio State as the opponents. This is a team that is on a 3-game winning streak. Randy Ayers, first-year coach, and he rather had the cupboard left bare for him by Gary Williams, who went off to Maryland.
Well, Randy Ayers has some inexperienced people and is, in fact, as an inexperienced coach himself. But just like his players, he's a very talented young coach. He's led by the most highly touted freshman in Ohio last year, a young man by the name of Jimmy Jackson. You can see what he's done for the Buckeyes so far this year. Leads them in rebounding and assists, has been in double figures every game, so he's certainly lived up to expectations. Randy Ayers, I think, sees really a good future for this team.
And they have won 3 games in a row, all at home. Now they have to take the act on the road, and they have to beat an unbeaten team in the process. LaSalle has won 5 and lost none, and they are playing very well, despite the fact that Lionel Simmons is only averaging 40% from the floor. When we come back, we'll get started. Right now, back to Bristol and John Saunders.
Okay, thanks a lot, Perry and Dan. We'll get you back to New Orleans in just a moment. LaSalle, number 20 against Ohio State. The first of 3 games we'll have for you here tonight. Our second game will be Missouri, ranked number 7 in the nation, against Memphis State, number 15, a battle of Tigers. Then we'll step aside for Sports Center, come back at midnight Eastern time, number 16 UCLA against Fresno State. At halftime, we will have top 25 scores, and we'll also hear from Bill Curry, the coach of Alabama, as he prepares his Crimson Tide for the Sugar Bowl. So stay with us. Quite a night of basketball ahead. LaSalle and Ohio State next.
There's never been an offer like this before. Now,
Spirit of Dodge. By Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. And by the Beef Industry Council and Beef Board. Beef. Real food for real people.
Barry Tompkins with Dan Bonner back at the Superdome here in New Orleans. And let's now go to the public address announcer, Richard Roussel, for the introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, here to introduce the starting lineups is Richard Roussel, chairman of the USF&G Sugar Bowl basketball.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 52nd annual USF&G Sugar Bowl basketball tournament. Here's the starting lineups. Here are the starting lineups. First, for the Explorers, at forward, a 6'7" senior from Philadelphia, number 22, Lionel Simmons. At forward, a 6'6" sophomore, From Lidditz, Pennsylvania, number 25, Jack Hurd. At center, a 6'9" sophomore from Amsterdam, the Netherlands, number 44, Mike Liebrist. At guard, a 6'2" junior from Philadelphia, number 11, Doug Overton. At guard, a 6-foot sophomore from Philadelphia, number 14, Randy Woods. LaSalle is coached by Bill Speedy Morris. Now for the Buckeyes. At forward, a 6'7" sophomore from Sparta, New Jersey, number 21, Chris Gent. At forward, a 6'6" freshman from Toledo, Ohio, number 22, Jimmy Jackson. At center, a 6'8" junior from Washington, D.C., number 32, Perry Carter. At guard, a 6'1" freshman from Cincinnati, number 20, Alex Davis. At guard, a 6'4" sophomore from Arlington, Texas, number 30, Jamal Brown. Ohio State is coached by Randy Ayers.
Well, if that doesn't get you on the edge of the seat, then you don't know what apathy is, I'll tell you that. We're just about set to go. Ohio State and LaSalle and the L train. Lionel Simmons is coming.
A chill is in the air. You should winterize your
As you can see, the LaSalle cheerleaders, they're pumped up. They're ready to go. And let's take a look at the game notes in this one. LaSalle 5-0, off to a very good start, Dan.
LaSalle playing very, very well. They have won the game. Speedy Morris has said that at points they haven't played well. But overall, in winning those 5 games, Speedy says it's better to be 5-0 playing ugly than 3-2 looking good. Ohio State has won 3 basketball games in a row, now all at home. They've struggled a little bit on the road.
Jackson and Davis, 2 freshmen leading Ohio State. Long way back for Randy Ayers, and he plays in a tough conference, but it's a team with some potential. That's Jackson.
And there's the potential right there. What a great play by Jackson to tip that ball ahead over the defense. There, Ohio State starts with full court pressure. They've been very effective with that the last 3 ball games.
Lionel Simmons wears number 22. He's a guy, of course, to keep your eye on. Doug Overton will try it for 3, and they'll throw up a bunch of 3s. 1 shot only, and the rebound down to Carter. Jackson tried to go cross court. Stepping in front that time was Randy Woods. 3-on-2 if they hurry. Here's Simmons.
What a nice move by Simmons. You got a chance to see what kind of body control that young man has. Gent was in pretty good position to draw a charge. Simmons just sort of glided in and shot the ball. LaSalle starts in a man-to-man defense against the Buckeyes.
Carter on the blocks. Late footer, that's a shot that he loves. Couldn't quite get the roll there.
You see LaSalle not afraid to get out and run with the basketball. They like the transition game.
Nor are they afraid to try 3s. That's 2 that they've tried already. Overton has missed them both, and he was the highest percentage of 3-point shooters for LaSalle coming in here. They shoot about 25 a game. At the other end, Davis misses, and the rebound comes down to Liebrist, rather.
What a great outlet pass.
Randy Woods won't get it, but they'll get a second try as Simmons has the rebound. He's averaging 9.5 rebounds a game, too.
Simmons is a very difficult guy to block out anyhow, Barry, and particularly in transition, and the Buckeyes had 4 guys around the basket, but Simmons came up with the ball.
Liebrist draws it foul, and they kick it back out. Well-disciplined team, LaSalle. Woods.
LaSalle passed the ball very well, Barry, but it was interesting. There wasn't much movement on offense.
Ohio State has played a number of games in the 50s, and Randy Ayers feels he's got to generate a few more points. Davis is surrounded. And a foul, first of the game.
The foul will be against Liebrist. Pretty good double team down on the baseline against Alex Davis, and players just, it's one of those things that you can't resist. I guess it's like a nice piece of chocolate or something. You get a good double team, everybody wants to reach in and grab, and that's what happened to Liebrist.
Jackson, highly sought-after freshman.
LaSalle had started in the man-to-man on that out-of-bounds play underneath the basket. They go into a 2-3 zone. You'll see this defense a lot. Ohio State does not shoot very well from the perimeter. This may be a very effective defense for Speedy Morris.
They're always looking inside. to Carter or Jackson, who can play either with his back to the basket or facing the basket. They're speeding Morris, and he has not had a season in which he's won less than 20 games, either as a coach of the men's team at LaSalle or the women's team at LaSalle.
Well, he averaged 28 wins a year as a high school coach as well.
A proven winner. Davis is short with a jumper, and so far the Buckeyes having all sorts of shooting problems. This will be a jump ball call. Possession arrow points to LaSalle.
Shooting problems, of course, for the Buckeyes, Barry, are nothing new. As a team, they shoot less than 43%. And one of the things that happens is if you're going to miss shots, the L train is going to get up there and get them. Here's Simmons now handling the ball against the press. Another three-pointer.
No conscience at all on this LaSalle team. They haven't made one yet, though.
Well, the problem with those three-pointers is everybody's out around the perimeter. There's nobody inside for rebounding.
Brown tries it and has it.
Nice tough shot against pretty good defensive pressure. They throw the ball away against the pressure. There's Randy Ayers. Interestingly, his team, when they've won, they've forced 20 or more turnovers from their opponents. So the turnovers might be a key for Ohio State. Ohio State's every game they've lost, their opponents have had fewer than 20 turnovers.
There's Jet. He comes off an 11 rebound game against South Carolina. Jackson steps in. Nice pass to Carter. Carter gets it down. Carter waited a little bit.
Here's the press again. 1-2-1-1 zone press.
Simmons gets into the paint. Nice touch and got it.
Boy, touch is exactly what describes that. You know, a lot of people think it's guards who break the press, Barry, but the guard usually handles the first pass. Then he's got to throw it to somebody who can do something with the basketball. And boy, when you're getting it to Simmons in the open court, you can't just ask for any more.
And if there is a hallmark about Lionel Simmons, it's that he is a very unselfish player. Brown gets into the lane, gives it up for Gent. Underneath, the pass to Carter is knocked away by Hurd. And we've got a timeout on the floor. 16:04 remaining in the first half. We're all tied at 6. We'll be back to the Superdome right after this.
There's
Ohio State teams from the Philadelphia area, in fact, have done very well in this Sugar Bowl Classic. Back in 1974, this same LaSalle team were the Sugar Bowl champions. Joe Bryant, he spent some time in the NBA. Had a lot of help from his friends, Charlie Wise and Billy Taylor. And it was Taylor who was the MVP in the Sugar Bowl Classic that year. Well, LaSalle right now shooting at only 3 of 7, and the 4 shots they've missed have been three-pointers. Still they're tied. Simmons ahead. It's a gimme for Woods.
You talk about Lionel Simmons being unselfish. But that's unselfish with a flair right there. What a great touch pass. Salle back to the man-to-man defense.
Bring Carter way out of the basket. Jen on the high post. Nice pass to Davis, who goes right around Hurd and gets it.
Pretty good penetration by the Buckeyes. Here now with the press. Gent covering the ball. They try to double team that first pass.
Simmons again to the basket. Simmons 3 for 3, so he's shooting 40% going in here, having no problem at all tonight taking it to the basket.
That's some press attack. Couple of good passes, and there's Simmons down the court. And if Simmons is going to get those kinds of shots, he's going to shoot a little bit better than 40%.
Gent off a nice pass that time from Brown.
Ohio State being effective getting inside that LaSalle defense, and I think that's probably where they need to go. Put some pressure on those big guys.
And Ohio State's full court pressure really having no effect. Simmons' first shot from outside misses, and the rebound comes down to Brown. Davis pulls up for the jumper and has another. Nice touch on that.
Davis has been really effective for the Buckeyes since entering the lineup as the starting point guard. There's a pretty good double team.
And Overton threw it away, so the Buckeyes now a chance to stretch the lead.
The Explorers can't run away from Overton in that situation. The place where Overton would like to go is to the middle of the court, and if it's not there, then Hurd, who's taking the ball out of bounds, needs to step in and make himself available for a return pass.
Carter way outside. That's pretty much beyond his range, but not Brown for 3.
Three-pointer for Jamal Brown.
Brown has not really shot the ball well this year from three-point range, but he certainly has three-point potential, and he showed you there. the kind of shooter he can be if you leave him all alone.
Right now, Randy Ayers has the Buckeyes playing very well. They've won 3 in a row, starting to get the feel for winning, even though they were all at home.
And one of the reasons that his team has done so well in the last 3 games is that they have really played good defense, and there you got to see a good defensive series. Doing very well denying passes, and when they're not denying the passes, just making Ohio State extend a little, or LaSalle extend a little bit to complete them.
Buckeyes have forced 3 turnovers now. And 31 in the game against South Carolina, which was a good win for them. Tried to force the pass into Gent. Woods comes away with it. Brown fast hands it away from Woods. Buckeyes ball.
It's not a good play by Woods. He never really had control of the basketball. He needs to stop and pick it up. LaSalle, once again, has dropped back into 2-3 zone. We mentioned Buckeyes getting inside against the man-to-man. They go to a zone. There's some quick hands by Woods.
And down the lane, Lionel Simmons. So Simmons with a quiet 8 so far. And we've played not yet 7 minutes.
Salle now turning up some pressure. Ohio State handles it pretty easily that time.
Carter gives it for Jackson to the cutter, Gent. Gent can't hang on.
That was really a nice play by Jackson. He passes the ball inside to Carter, but doesn't stand there and watch. He cuts to the basket. Carter finds him. A little bit too hard to pass to Gent, but Jimmy Jackson certainly had the right idea.
One of the things about him, and in fact all the clippings about him coming out of high school, were not only that he was a great shooter and a pretty good rebounder, but that he was an excellent passer. And he's really showing that tonight.
You got to get yourself in position to make the plays, Barry, and that takes some basketball instincts to do that, and Jackson certainly showed him that time. Mark Baker, number 3 now in the ball game for Ohio State.
And so too is Craig Lee.
That's Bron Holland, the ball right there for LaSalle, number 51, and there's Simmons again. All of his points have come from the layup range.
Basket the other way goes Baker, can't get it. Ahead it goes to Overton, Woods on the wing. Overton keeps it, can't get it. A little bit sloppy that time.
That's not a good shot by Overton. He was not really set, he was drifting to the side. LaSalle would like to get the ball up and down the court, but they need to be a little bit more disciplined than that.
That was supposed to be an alley-oop pass for Jackson, and it hit the rim. They come back the other way. Here's Simmons down the lane, foul call.
Well, we hope that was supposed to be an alley-oop pass. Either that or it was a very flat shot by Craig Lee. Then, of course, when he made that pass, the ball rebounded out of there so hard, it was like a great outlet pass for LaSalle, so he's got to get back and play D, and he fouls Simmons.
So we'll take a timeout. 12:02 remaining first half, 15-14. The Buckeyes leading the Explorers.
It's really been a transition basketball game thus far. Ohio State with a 1-point lead, 12 minutes left in the first half, and that kind of a game, transition that is a game where Lionel Simmons can shine. Here's Simmons with the fast break basket. He's 5 of 6 from the field, has 10 of the 14 points for the Explorers. All his baskets have been of that variety right there. And he's well on his way to having a big game.
So you saw those numbers on Simmons. Bob Johnson has come on now for LaSalle, kind of the designated 6th man. In fact, he was the best 6th man in the conference last year. Woods tries a 3 and nails it.
That's the first one they've made, Barry. As you pointed out, they shoot more than 25 of those babies a game. And there's a traveling violation. LaSalle has shown us pressure a couple of times in the basketball game. Ohio State now with their 6th turnover.
And LaSalle leads it by 2, 17-15, 11:45 remaining in a half.
Man-to-man now by the Ohio State Buckeyes. You see Craig Lee is going to try to match up against Lionel Simmons.
And Simmons pulls up for the jumper.
And you can see that was a perfect example of how difficult it is to defend Simmons. A guy like Craig Lee is not quick enough, there's a steal by Holland, to guard Simmons.
And Simmons will take it all the way to the basket. Lost the handle.
Double dribble.
That is the call.
Double dribble.
Randy Ayers up barking at his players.
I think he's probably barking at the official.
Yeah, he might be.
Got to be careful. You can't bark too loud.
Nice pass by Davis to Jackson on the baseline.
What a nice stop by Jackson that creates that shot. Boy, when LaSalle is able to throw it over the top of the press and get it in Simmons' hands, they really are putting some pressure on the Buckeyes defensively.
They'll get a second try this time.
And if they can get many of those three-pointers to go.
Simmons cross-court for Woods with a man in his face, can't get the three. Baker brings it the other way for Ohio State. Lee steps in. Nice pass underneath the Carter to the basket. Count it.
And Speedy Morris is really upset with his basketball team. It looked like the Explorers were trying to change defenses. There was a couple guys playing man-to-man. The other guys are playing zone. And if that's what Speedy is trying to design, that's okay. But this was definitely not by design. You see, nobody picks up Lee. And then there's nobody to guard Carter. Johnson gets the push from behind.
Carter will go to the line with 4 points, try and make it 5, and try and increase the Ohio State lead. Buckeyes playing very well.
Oh, my.
Brown couldn't get it. Carter fights for the rebound. He can't get it, gets it back, and puts it home.
You always have to know what's going on the basketball court. Ohio State got that rebound because LaSalle thought it was a 2-shot free throw, not a 1-and-1. So the Buckeyes steal one. I'm a little surprised that LaSalle doesn't take some time and try to set Simmons up on the inside. Everything's been from the perimeter. Now there's inside with Ron Holland.
Nice touch on that turnaround jumper by Holland. 10 minutes remaining in the half. Tied at 21. Jackson for 3. Won't go too hard. And here comes Simmons. 3-on-1. Simmons on the wing. Gives it up nicely to Holland. Won't go. He's fouled. And again, a case of an unselfish Lionel Simmons.
Not only an unselfish Lionel Simmons, but you have to have some ability. If you're just unselfish and you're going to throw that ball out of bounds, it doesn't help much. But that was a very fine pass to Holland. Caught him in stride perfectly. You never want guys whose numbers are in the 50s to dribble the ball. And Simmons passed him the ball so he didn't have to dribble it. He drew the foul.
So Bron Holland, just a sophomore, as you see out of Bangor, Pennsylvania. Almost all the LaSalle players out of the state of Pennsylvania. In fact, many of them from the city of Philadelphia itself. Yesterday, this was the LaSalle practice at Newman High School right near the Tulane University campus here. Now, the reason we show you this is that the airlines, in their infinite wisdom, managed to lose the equipment of the LaSalle players. They had to borrow shoes, borrow shorts, borrow shirts. And they went out and practiced and looked like a ragtag bunch, but tonight, not at all.
I'll tell you, Lionel Simmons is one of the few guys who can still look fast wearing black shoes.
I think we might get an assist here. Threw that one away right at us.
And Ohio State bothered that time once again by Treg Lee. And you can see the advantage of a big guy being able to handle the ball. Simmons.
And Johnson calls a timeout, and I mean he just got that timeout called inside of the 5-second rule on the sideline. 22-21, LaSalle leading Ohio State. We'll be back right after this. All right, I lied to you. You can take the effect. Monday, it is football time. New Year's Day on ABC Sports. The second-ranked Miami Hurricanes go for a shot at the national championship. They'll meet the SEC champion Alabama Crimson Tide in the USF&G Sugar Bowl. Live coverage from New Orleans begins at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. That's Monday night right here on ABC Sports. Actually, it's not right here. It's right there on ABC Sports, isn't it? Part of the family, though.
Buckeyes back in. You can see how they're really trying when Simmons catches the basketball. They're trying to drop down inside against Simmons. Ohio State in the man-to-man is going to try to give help on Simmons when they can.
Simmons got a man in the air, took the shot, couldn't get the roll. Rebound comes down to Brown. Outlet Baker, and the Buckeyes will try to run. Baker all the way to the basket. Tough shot, won't go. Rebound batted around, controlled underneath by Jackson. He has it rejected by Simmons. Ahead it goes to Woods. Here come the Explorers. Woods to the basket. Tough shot, won't go. No whistle. Lee the rebound.
Going to run up and down for a little while, Bear.
I was out of breath. That was all I could do. Simmons thought about that three for just a minute. Looking for Woods. Down low to Holland. Holland got a man in the air. Nice little scoop shot by Holland, but it won't go. And the rebound down to Robinson, who's in the ball game now. Bill Robinson at 7 feet, the biggest player on the floor by far.
That's really only a nice shot, Barry, when it goes in the basket.
That's true.
That's really a tough shot right there. Neither team showing very much patience offensively right at the moment. Even though they're missing close shots, they're not good shots. Here's LaSalle back into the 2-3 zone, trying to shut off that inside game.
Outside, Brown for three won't go. And Simmons another rebound.
And that's what that zone wants to do, force the Buckeyes to the perimeter.
Simmons got into the lane, gave it up for Holland, but traveled on his way.
Simmons really has pretty good quickness with the basketball. Treg Lee just really has a problem trying to guard Simmons out that far away from the basket. Simmons probably a step quicker. And as we mentioned, that's one of the problems that you have. Simmons at 6'7", 6'8", plays power forward, if you will, and so usually the guy you're going to match up against him, if it's another big guy, Simmons has an advantage in quickness. If it's a smaller guy, Simmons can post him inside.
And it's interesting, I think, when you talk about Simmons, that he does play the power forward position here, but his position in the NBA most likely will be small forward or even big guard.
Well, considering the fact that the 6'9" point guard has been in the NBA for 10 years.
Gent tried to get it inside that time to Lee and couldn't do it. And it'll be Ohio State's ball.
LaSalle pretty active in the zone defense. Those passes look like they're available, but once the ball gets in the air, the Explorers do a nice job getting those hands in the passing lanes.
22-21 ball game. Ball game that, very frankly, has been a little bit flat, and I can't help but wonder if part of that isn't the fact that it's a very small crowd here. Not really any enthusiasm, no electricity in this game quite yet. Neither team's really caught fire. So far, both teams shooting at 10 for 20. Can't get any more even than that. The scoreboard shows it.
Well, with Ohio State coming into the ball game shooting 42% on the year, and LaSalle coming in shooting 40% on the year, both coaches have to be thrilled with that.
Davis comes back on now, replacing Brown for Ohio State.
Once again, we have an Explorer turnover, I think caused because they're not paying attention. Johnson walked along the baseline. He thought it was like after a basket that he can move, but it was a spot. That is, you have to stand on the spot violation, and he moved. 7 turnovers. Pass underneath, picked up underneath by Carter. Second try, has it. I don't think that's going to go in the Ohio State highlight package. No. People dropping and fumbling the ball, but it goes in the basket. Now, something like that might. A pretty good double team. Overton throws it away. Speedy Morris is out on the court.
Yeah, he is chagrined, and with good reason. Explorer is really playing very sloppy right at the moment.
Well, his team has gone through stretches this year. Being 5-0, you have to say that overall they've probably played pretty well, but they've had some really bad stretches in games. Now, I know Speedy is not happy with the performance of his team, but you can't be but so upset when you're 5-0.
You saw those numbers, points in the paint. That is Ohio State's game. They want to jam it inside, and they have been able to do that. Carter with 8 points so far and 12 points inside for the Buckeyes, 12 of their 23. Woods for 3, very short. Somebody got a hand on that. Jackson gets it back for Ohio State. Ahead to Baker, 2-on-2. Carter inside again.
Carter has really done a nice job powering the ball up inside. There's a lot of hands slapping around in there. You would expect a guy who looks like him, though, to be pretty good at powering the ball up inside.
Expect a guy that looks like him to be playing linebacker.
There's Hurd with a pretty nice move, falling down. Now he doesn't make such a nice move. Throws it right to Jackson. Excellent defense.
Another turnover. That's 9, and Baker takes it to the basket. Woods takes it all away, swatted away from behind nicely by Jackson, but they turn it over. Simmons comes away with it. Simmons at the baseline. Nice touch again by Lionel Simmons. That's a tough shot.
Ohio State a little sloppy on the outlet pass. Jackson tried to make a spectacular pass, wound up getting it stolen.
And Baker's going to have to hurry across the timeline, does so for Gent. Carter is surrounded and still got it up off the glass and in.
He just bowled his way to the basket.
Carter with 12 points, having a very good first half.
LaSalle not doing a very good job with the interior defense. Ohio State's able to enter the ball, and then they sort of do whatever they want with it on the inside, which is why they've got the 5-point lead.
They left the lane for Overton, and he shoveled a shot up. It wouldn't go, but he did get fouled and will go to the line.
Get a look at Perry Carter right there. He looks like he's winded. You can certainly understand why. He's got 12 points and 3 rebounds so far. really doing a nice job inside. Here he looks for Jackson for the pass, but Overton cuts it off, so he decides, okay, I'm sort of stuck under here. I got to do something. And he powers it up and gets the hoop.
Doug Overton goes to the line, but it's been a tough night for him.
Well, Overton's really a key to this ball team. He's 0 for 5 field goal shooting, 0 for 4 from the three-point line. Just missed that free throw. Finally gets his first point of the basketball game, and you can see averaging almost 19 a game. It's going to be hard for LaSalle to win without some production by Overton.
Explorers in general seem a little bit out of sync right now. Buckeyes by 4 with the ball.
Well, maybe it was that practice last night in those tight pants.
That probably did it. Again, looking to get it inside, but that time stepping in front nicely was Milko Lieberst out of the Netherlands.
Up to that point, the Buckeyes moved the ball very well. But Jamal Brown reached in and got a hand right there.
Plenty of basketball coming your way tonight here on ESPN. We go from here, Missouri versus Memphis State, the number 7 and 15 teams in the nation. And then out to Fresno, California, it'll be Fresno State and UCLA, and Jim Herrick has it going out there.
Speedy, you could hear him there saying that's 2 times you could have had the ball. Was he talking to you? That was the
Might have
second
been.
one
Actually,
that came.
there was.
That was the second one that came close to you, Barry.
And I turned them both over, too. 10 turnovers for LaSalle.
Now, we mentioned the turnovers have been one of the keys for the Buckeyes. When they force them, they win. When they make them, they lose. This is really not all that surprising.
Davis tries it from 3. It won't go, and Jackson gets it back, has it batted away. It almost went in the basket. And Carter comes down with it. Carter having a terrific half and draws the foul underneath.
Ohio State showing, at the moment anyhow, that they are just too much for the Explorers inside.
You can see the seeds of a pretty good basketball team in Columbus.
Well, you sure can, and you talk about their youth. Youthful coach, 33-year-old Randy Ayers.
8 of his 11 players are either freshmen or sophomores. It's going to make some noise in that conference.
Doesn't have the first senior on that team. And no seniors.
Left with only 2 starters off of last year's team. And remember, last year's team started out like gangbusters. Jay Burson then went down, as Carter did there. And when Burson went down, the team went with him.
The foul charged down to 44.
Very unfortunate accident for Jay Burson. Fortunately, he recovered from that.
Yeah, playing in the CBA now. I saw the other night he had about 24 points. Looking to get back into the NBA.
Now Carter at the line. Lieberst decided that he wasn't going to let him shoot the ball. Try a different tactic. See if he can knock Carter down.
Not easy to do. He's only 53% at the line, though. 1 out of 2. So that's just about his average. And we have a timeout with 4 minutes remaining in the half. And don't you know, this is going to be an active part of this city over the next week. Bourbon Street, the corner of Bourbon and St. Peter. We'll be back. Guys, and their young coach Randy Ayers, we were talking about how young this basketball team is, that 8 of the 11 players are either freshmen or sophomores. Take a look at this. Not a senior. There are 4 juniors on the team, 5 sophomores, and 3 freshmen. This is a team that I'm quite sure most of the good teams in the Big Ten Conference are going to have to contend with, or at least make room for in the next couple of years. And they lead an undefeated LaSalle team by 4 points, by 5 points actually, 30-25. Simmons got in, couldn't get it to go. Ball fought for, and coming away with it underneath nicely was Hurd. He couldn't get the shot to fall. And Lieberst finally gets it and gives it up to Overton, who finally nails one.
The Explorers sort of taking a page out of the Buckeyes book, really banging the offensive boards, but Simmons created that whole thing with his penetration. The defense so conscious of Simmons, they don't block out. Now Brown turns it over.
And a 4-on-2. Simmons with the left hand too hard, he'll go to the line.
Simmons a little irritated with himself that he missed that shot, but that was a pretty tough shot under heavy pressure. Held that ball out at arm's length, really extended that left arm, protected the ball with his body.
Saw those career numbers for Lionel Simmons.
It's his consistency that's really been amazing, Barry. Some guys have big numbers. They score 40 one night and get 5 the next night, but Simmons, consistent every night. In fact, In their last game against Villanova, he had 15 points, and that was the first time in 26 games that he'd scored less than 20.
And his line so far in this game, now 15 points. He's got 5 rebounds and 3 assists. Holland has come back on for the Explorers. And Simmons gets them both. Simmons hoping to be the 5th player in NCAA history to score 3,000 points and has an outside chance of being the first to ever score 3,000 points and get 1,500 rebounds.
That would be amazing.
Wouldn't it?
He needs a lot of rebounds.
He needed 430-something going into this season.
His previous high is like 386 or something, so he needs a lot of boards.
Jackson leans into the baseline a little bit short, and the rebound comes down to Simmons.
See, but as long as people keep missing shots, he's on his way.
Right. Another turnover. That one was a very sloppy one on the part of LaSalle. 3 and 2 the other way. Tregley to the basket.
Nice defense by Jimmy Jackson. Really keyed that thing. Holland not paying attention. Jackson slapped the ball out of his hand. Here's a 1-2-2 press at about half court. Just a different look. Jamal Brown getting away with a push right there. There's a 10-second violation.
So that was well played by Ohio State. Wasn't it?
It's not going to be very long before Speedy's tie comes off. He doesn't, and sometimes I guess in New Orleans, you're used to that striptease stuff, but Speedy,
I was going to say, things keep going the way they have for LaSalle. He made it the second half without his pants. Robinson misses a triple. Overton into the lane for the jumper, too hard.
Now, when Overton has gotten himself set and taken the shot, he's had pretty good success, but those runners just have not been going in the basket.
And Davis misses a carbon copy at the other end. Johnson's open.
That's just not very good offensive patience. LaSalle really playing on the perimeter.
2-on-1, Brown to Davis, short with it. Boy, is this sloppy.
Boy, how'd he miss that?
That's about 4 easy shots in a row. Holland can't get it. Exercising futility, turnover. Simmons just stepped into the passing lane. He'll wait for help.
Now you talk about needing offensive patience. Lionel Simmons holds up and waits for his teammates.
Johnson tries it. Another horrible looking shot. .32-30 with 1 minute and 18 seconds left in the half.
Both teams trying to catch their breath right here. Nothing makes you more tired than to run up and down the court and miss.
This game is really being played at Ohio State's tempo rather than at LaSalle's tempo. They like to play the game in the 80s if they can. Davis for 3, well done.
Well, now it's being played that way with the score, Barry, but the tempo, they're running up and down an awful lot.
I want to remind you that coming up at halftime, we'll bring you up to date from the scores from all around the country. John Saunders will have all of that, and then we'll come back here. We'll talk to Bill Curry, the head football coach at the University of Alabama, and he still feels his team has an outside chance to be the #1 team in the country. We have all the stats, the numbers, and all the highlights from this game here in the Superdome. Part of the Sugar Bowl Classic first game, LaSalle and Ohio State. And it hasn't been very pretty, I got to tell you. Holland will try, or Hurd rather tries it, and it won't go. Carter has the rebound.
Buckeyes battling themselves there. Well, that's a nice job. Coach likes to see his players going after the boards. But once again, even though that was a set play, Hurd wide open behind the screen, LaSalle making no effort at all to go inside, really playing on the perimeter.
And the Buckeyes will play for the last shot. They spread the court. 15 seconds left.
One of the hardest things to do is to play for this last shot. Since you're really susceptible to a turnover.
Beautiful block from behind by Simmons.
You're trying to hold the ball. You don't want to shoot it just now, so you're not attacking the basket. The defense can really gamble. Simmons that time making a great play when the Buckeyes were going after the basket.
5 seconds remaining now. Jackson to inbound. Does so, tried to force it underneath that time for Brown. And on the baseline was Hurd, so Ohio State will have it again with 3 seconds left.
Brown very fortunate that he didn't get a foul called on him right there. He really ran right through Hurd, knocked him down.
Davis for three, short. And the rebound won't go, and we've come to the end of the first half. And I don't think either coach is going to want to put this one in a time capsule. It's 32-30, Ohio State over LaSalle.
Problem shooting in the first half. He's had a lot of shots, a lot of opportunities, real close to the basket. 16 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists in the first half. That's almost his average for the year per game. And this is about the way he's done it the entire first half. Ohio State pressing the Explorers. In transition, they were able to get the ball into the hands of Simmons. That's the way he scored most of his points.
And Ohio State, meanwhile, they've been pretty characteristic to them. You were saying that they were the kind of team that had to punch the ball inside, get it inside to the big guys. They've done that with relative success.
Well, it's been amazing. They have 15 field goals at halftime, and 11 of them are the point-blank range variety, either dunks or layups. Mostly Perry Carter muscling inside. LaSalle hasn't been able to do a thing with him inside. He's got 13 points, 5 rebounds. Most of his points are with people hanging all over him. He's done a nice job catching the ball in traffic and then powering up to the basket. Here you can see he fumbles the basketball, actually has his shot blocked, and then with 4 Explorers around him, catches the ball, powers it up to the basket. LaSalle is going to have to figure out a way to stop that in the second half.
Yeah, he's a wide body. In fact, just talking to Bill Curry, he said it's really a shame a guy with a body like that has to play a game that doesn't have points on the ball. So a very good first half for Perry Carter and a very good first half for Lionel Simmons, but maybe it ends there. The shooting, 2 of 12 in the last 8 minutes for LaSalle, 5 of 17 in the last 8 minutes for Ohio State.
When I played football, I crunched quarterbacks. But now I crunch these, JB's Pigskins. The new pork rind.
Still going. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. They keep going and going.
By the U.S. Armed Forces, where opportunity is waiting for you. And by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you.
Barry Tompkins with Dan Bonner. We are back at the Superdome here in New Orleans. We start the second half, and let's take a look at the numbers from the first 20 minutes of play. And they're not very pretty, Dan.
Not very impressive, particularly the shooting. You can see down there the 3-point field goals. LaSalle 2 of 13. Ohio State only 1 of 6.
LaSalle has thrown it up in three-point range 122 times this year and made 42 coming into this game. That's 34% tonight. As Dan mentioned, 2 of 13. Woods tries it. There we go. Make it 2 of 14. Saved it, though. And Simmons can't get it to go.
Good rebound by Jamal Brown. We started the second half with Alex Davis shooting a three-pointer for Ohio State and missing, and then Woods missing for the Explorers.
And Gent nails one.
Ohio State had some success with the press in the first half. Forced 10 LaSalle turnovers. Buckeyes man-to-man.
Simmons works inside, surrounded, and drew the foul, I believe on Carter. Might have been Gent.
For the first time tonight, Barry, LaSalle actually ran a couple of cuts through, got the ball to Simmons on the move, headed inside, and the result is a foul.
What do you suppose the gist of Speedy Morris's conversation with his team was at halftime?
It's one of those things that you couldn't actually repeat probably on the air.
Simmons at the line.
Simmons now 3 for 3 from the free throw line tonight. That's pretty good for him. He's only 62% on the year, although he's a much better free throw shooter than that. His career 74% misses there.
1 out of 2 for Lionel Simmons, and the Buckeyes with the ball still lead by 3. Just underway second half. Sugar Bowl Classic here at the Superdome in New Orleans.
LaSalle trying to get into a half-court trap right there. Ohio State working out of it nicely, so now the Explorers drop back into the 2-3 zone. It's not a good pass by Jackson.
Brown runs it down. Buckeyes being very patient here to start the second half, and again a turnover. Nice hands by Overton, ahead to Woods to the basket.
Woods made that a harder shot than he needed to make it, but it went in the basket.
Double clutched it a couple of times. And Woods and Gent bumping each other way away from the ball. Gent will try a three. Short. Right down into the hands of Lieverst. And here come the Explorers. Simmons, too hard off the glass. Block foul. Simmons will go to the line.
You miss a three-point shot like that, it really creates some rebounding opportunities that are going to lead to fast breaks. That time, that ball came straight down off the board. It nearly took Lieverst's head off as he tried to catch it. And when that happened, everybody's sort of standing flat-footed, but he gets the outlet pass, one pass to Simmons. And once again, Lionel Simmons putting pressure on the defense with his ability to get out in transition.
Speedy Morris sits Randy Woods down and brings Bob Johnson on. Woods has been playing a little bit out of control.
You can see in the background Speedy talking to Randy Woods.
And Simmons missed another free throw.
LaSalle people seem to think that Simmons sometimes has a tendency when he gets to that free throw line to view it as rest time, that he's not really concentrating. A fellow who can shoot like he does doesn't need to be missing free throws like that.
He missed them both. In fact, he's missed his last three. And the Buckeyes come the other way.
And as much as he goes to the line, he can't afford to rest there.
Here's Gent. Brown, whether Jackson has it knocked away nicely by Lieverst.
Lieverst, they call him the milkman at LaSalle.
Overton, the jumper. And when he squares up, he can shoot it.
I think that's a good analysis, Barry. Even though he was sort of gliding that time, he squared to the basket, stopped himself, got up in the air.
So the Explorers in front by one.
Ohio State has sort of gone out of attack mode here, Barry. You talked about being patient. Being patient doesn't mean you just play slowly. Being patient means you attack the basket sensibly. Sometimes a young team, when you say be patient, they stop attacking the basket, and that's what looks like what's happened here.
Davis in traffic off the top of the backboard, but a second try by Jackson won't go either. Ball is loose, diving for it on the floor, and coming away with it this time is Overton. On the wing to Hurd.
Lieverst did a very nice job jumping on top of Perry Carter, forcing that ball to squirt out of there to start the fast break.
And Lieverst also hit his head on the way down. LaSalle by three. We'll be back.
Burst to now lead by three, and Jimmy Jackson's had a frustrating evening. You can see him there talking to his coaches. He moves pretty well without the ball, but Jackson feels like he's open a couple of times. You can see that expression on his face. He really wants the ball, so what do? Sometimes you just got to go get it yourself, and a picture of what his evening has been there. He gets the ball, but it's blocked by Lionel Simmons. Jackson now taking a seat on the bench as we get a foul called against Bob Johnson of the LaSalle Explorers, but it's been a tough night for Jimmy Jackson. Coming in averaging 13 points a game, only has 4 so far.
Yeah, he is struggling a little bit. That's going to happen, I think, to a young player, and he's a guy that is going to be around for another 3.5 years, or at least, assumedly, he'll be around for another 3.5 years. Excellent player, excellent prospect, can do a lot of things. And really is the foundation on which the Ohio State Buckeyes are being built.
LaSalle has shown nothing but the zone here in the second half, and Ohio State has not really done a very effective job attacking it. The Buckeyes limited to 1 for 5 field goal shooting.
Gent in traffic, throws it behind the backboard. Hurd comes up with it.
We got a technical foul called against Chris Gent. He didn't really throw it behind the backboard, Barry. As he went up for the shot, Lionel Simmons blocked it, and I think that he felt he got fouled from behind. Here he goes. He beats Simmons to the baseline. Nice job by Lieverst coming over to help out. Simmons just gets a finger on it, knocks it away.
And Overton will shoot the technical. And all technicals now, remember, are 2-shot fouls. So this is a real potential turning point of this game.
Well, you really can't blame that on Gent. You know, he gets that shot blocked. He comes up the court. He shouts. In most basketball games, the official's never going to hear it, but there's not very many people here. And so you can hear the sneakers squeaking on the floor. So certainly the officials could hear him that time.
It's a very valid point.
He probably said, oh, heck, or something.
Yeah, that's right. I think so. Or some 4-letter word anyway. Here's Hurd a little bit short, and the rebound comes down to Carter.
Now LaSalle, they're up there claiming that he interfered with the ball. He was up there. The ball was in the cylinder, so was he, but he never touched it.
Clear out for Baker, who looks for help and finally gets it in the person of Brown.
We talked about how Carter was so effective in the first half.
hadn't really been able to get it to him in the second half until right there. And the reason they got it to him was because Carter moved very, very well without the ball and made himself available inside. If you're not getting the ball inside, you just have to keep working at it. And Carter shows you right there. There he steps in. That pivot, LaSalle asking for a travel, but that was not a travel. Carter gets it up there strongly. And drew the foul against Levers. So Carter will go to the line, and look at his numbers. Simmons with another rebound. Woods over on the other side asking for the ball. I guarantee if he gets it, it's going up. It is for three and down. He ran all the way down the court with his hands up, Barry. Right now, the Explorers starting to get into a bit of a rhythm here. Well, you know what they've done, Barry? They've come out in the second half. They've punched the ball inside, so when they did, that time the Ohio State defense dropped back and was guarding the inside, and Woods had a wide-open shot. And Carter is open for a little 5-footer and can't get it. Woods releasing early, makes the over-the-shoulder catch, swatted away from behind by Baker. Well, that's something that a defensive back in football, we've been talking about football, really doesn't have the opportunity. Woods as the receiver, if you will, makes a great catch here. The quarterback, Lever, sort of throws a balloon up in the air. Watch Woods go and get it. Baker's got a bead on it, but he misses it. Nice catch right there. Now, what a recovery by Baker to come back, slap that ball out of bounds. Overton for three. He's got it. Overton all of a sudden having a very good second half. Well, and I think that's entirely because they're a little bit patient. They get the ball inside. The defense has to cover inside, and now those three-pointers are much more open than they were in the first half. And that's no wonder Speedy Moore's teams have won so many games. The guy might know what he's doing. And LaSalle leads by 9. And here they come again. Woods. Oh, he traveled, but no call. I don't think he practices that one. No, I don't think so. Sort of stubbed his toe going in, got it up nonetheless, and suddenly an 11-point lead by the LaSalle Explorers. And that's not the kind of a pass that I think you really want to make in that situation, but credit Jimmy Johnson with an excellent catch, throwing up the two-handed scoop shot. LaSalle on a 17-4 run to start this second half, and they now lead by 11 and threaten to blow this game open. Well, given that background, Jackson going to the free throw line has a couple of big free throws here. Can't get that one. Again, the turnovers plaguing both teams early, but right now plaguing Ohio State more than LaSalle. And as you can see, LaSalle averaging almost 10 steals a game coming into this game. And they're sort of picking right up where they left off. So Jackson misses a pair of free throws. Simmons steps in, scoop shot won't go. And Carter the rebound. That was good help that time by the Ohio State Buckeyes. Simmons once again beat Trig Lee. But the defense came and helped him out very well. Jackson, who's had a tough second half, now Baker. Treg Lee off the glass. Nice touch by Treg Lee. Treg, incidentally, named for his father's best friends, who were Tony, Ronnie, Eddie, and Greg. Ergo, Treg. Man-to-man defense by the Buckeyes. Overton tries to get around Brown and did, but forced the shot from the baseline. Treg Lee now 3-on-3 with Brown. And Randy Ayers wants an intentional foul, but that's a little too much to ask. That time Overton, as you get a look at Randy Ayers right there, but Doug Overton for the LaSalle Explorers really didn't make a very good play. And you can see that there's a chain reaction that occurs when an offensive player doesn't make a good play. That usually leads to a pretty good opportunity for the defenders as the possession changes, and Ohio State with a good fast break that time. Davis back on now for Brown. This is Baker. Baker, pretty good shooter. Hasn't really gotten on track tonight, but then that could be said about all the Ohio State Buckeyes with the possible exception of Perry Carter. LaSalle played a lot of man-to-man in the first half. In the second half, they've been exclusively zone, and Ohio State has really had a problem with the zone. Speedy Moore is staying with it, a case of dancing with what brung you. the jumper in traffic, drew the foul on Jackson, and he is not going to be a happy guy. Turnovers really in large part a story of this game. 15 for Ohio State, 12 for LaSalle, but most of those 12 came in the first half, and most of Ohio State's have come in the second half.
LaSalle had 10 in the first half, Barry, so they've only had 2 here in the first 7 minutes of the second half.
Jack Hurd goes to the line. Conference Rookie of the Year in 1988.
Conference Rookie of the Year playing the shooting guard spot. This year he's had to move inside, play the small forward position, and he's really had a difficult adjustment to make and has had a difficult time making the adjustment.
48-38, 10-point lead LaSalle. Not too late for Ohio State, but they have yet to solve the LaSalle zone defense in the second half.
Barry Carter really asking for the ball in there. He was open. He's making himself available. His teammates have to be able to see him and get him the ball.
And here they do get it to Carter, and he draws a crowd when he gets it, but he kicks it out nicely to Baker, who can't get the shot. They did everything right except make the shot, and Lee finally comes away with a loose ball. LaSalle's ball as things going from bad to worse for the Ohio State Buckeyes. We got a timeout on the floor. 12:05 remaining in this one. Scant moments before we'll be in Bourbon Street. We'll be back here on ESPN, and we want to remind you that all week long we'll be bringing you some of the best action in college football. All-American Bowl in Birmingham, Alabama gets us underway on Thursday night, December 28th. It'll be Duke and Texas Tech, maybe Steve Spurrier's last game. That, of course, is tomorrow night beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Then on Friday, the SeaWorld Holiday Bowl between Penn State and BYU. Look for a lot of offense in that game. Finally, the Mazda Gator Bowl from Jacksonville on Saturday. It all starts at 8 o'clock Eastern Time right here on ESPN. 10-point lead for the Explorers, who have opened the game up pretty much here in the second half. And their zone defense has really been the difference in the game.
Ohio State really needs to take a page out of that book and tighten up this man-to-man defense. They were very successful in the first half when they were creating turnovers, and that's what they have to try to do now.
Simmons' turnaround jumper won't go, and a loose ball down to Hurd, but a foul is called before the shot. And it'll be against Hurd.
Hurd that time trying to claim the offensive rebound. We discussed his transition from the off guard to inside, and that's one of the things I think that's sort of indicative of the difficulty he's having. From playing off guard, now he's got to learn to get in there and rebound, and he got the foul that time. Not a very good decision.
So the Buckeyes still very much in this ballgame, trailing by 10, but they have to solve this riddle that's been in front of them defensively. Jackson from outside nails it.
Well, interestingly enough, Speedy Morris changed the riddle. LaSalle back in a man-to-man defense. Ohio State reacting very well. Jackson with the tough shot.
And it's an 8-point game. Overton into the lane all the way to the basket. He's fouled. And the Explorers want goaltending. I don't think they're going to get it.
No, they're not going to get it. The ball's got to have an opportunity to go in the basket to be a goaltend. That didn't have a chance. They grabbed that one below the rim. Craig Lee, a mismatch outside against Overton. Fouls him as he goes by. That's a pretty good call. Ball's got to have a chance, and that one clearly did not. They had a chance to hit that padding on the bottom of the backboard there.
So Doug Overton, who's had a very good second half, as Speedy Morris continues to plead his case, and Randy Ayers can only look on. Overton, first-team all-conference player last year. Started 50 straight games coming into this season, and of course, he started all 5 of LaSalle's games this year.
Another team lighting it up from the free throw line in the second half.
Lionel Simmons, incidentally, has virtually disappeared in the second half.
Well, interestingly enough, he's 0 for 3 from the field, only 1 for 4 from the free throw line, but his team, after that great first half he had, his team was behind. Now he's not playing well, and his team stretched out the lead.
He carried his team in the first half. Now his team's carrying him. Jackson tries it again. It won't go. Overton the rebound. Quick outlet to Woods. Cross court to Simmons, who can't hang on. And here come the Buckeyes, 3-on-1. Baker in the middle, leaves it on the wing for Lee to the basket.
Craig Lee really bailed his teammate out right there with a very fine catch of the basketball. Baker did not make a very good pass, but Lee made a good catch. And the pace starting to pick up now. One of the problems for Ohio State, if they can't score, they can't set that press.
Overton tried a three-pointer. Was that a well-advised shot? I don't know. Here come the Buckeyes. They trail by 7. Davis down the lane all the way to the basket. Won't go! And a rebound to Simmons.
He was intimidated by Lionel Simmons.
And Woods just throws it up.
Well, we talked about LaSalle getting in trouble in the first half with some lack of patience offensively. That shot has caused Speedy Morris to come off with the tie. With some patience offensively, his team ran to an 11-point lead. Jack Hurd's uniform's coming apart.
Yeah, it is. I mean, literally coming apart at the seams.
You can't see it on your TV screen as Davis shoots that one and makes it. But number 25 for LaSalle has got this giant string coming out of his pants.
That's very funny.
Their Bagley Buckeyes have battled back into this basketball game, and one of the reasons is they've been able to operate in transition the last few minutes. There, Treg Lee with a nice catch. It's an awfully tough pass to throw the ball at the guy's ankles, but Lee picks it up and gets the jam, and Ohio State is right back in this thing. And as we said they had to do, they've turned it around defensively. Some pretty good defense has created some steals. LaSalle has helped them out. LaSalle was very patient, get the ball inside the last few trips down the court. They started firing those off-balance threes again, and they've got themselves in trouble.
Yeah, you used the term that they have no conscience, and that's been exactly the case. They have taken some very, very low percentage shots. There's another one.
Well, now that's actually not a bad shot because he's on balance when he takes it. The defense has dropped down inside. He gets a wide open one. He makes that one under pretty good pressure, obviously. He's knocked down to the floor.
Man jumped out at him, and Woods, I believe, is okay. He's up on one knee, and he is okay.
Well, see, you can't fall down and get up right away. If you fall down like that, you got to stay there a couple minutes or everybody will think you're soft.
Meantime, it's an 8-point game again, as Woods was good on that three-pointer, and the near turnover again, but Lewis picks it up. Or Davis, I beg your pardon, picks it up. Here's Baker.
Ohio State handled the pressure, but you notice they didn't make LaSalle pay for that pressure. All they did was they were content to just get the ball back out and set up against the defense.
Davis thought shot, passed to Baker, and it went off his hand for another turnover. Well, LaSalle has lived and died on the three-point shot this year. Today, they haven't exactly lived on it. They're 5 of 19, but that last one was a big one. Here's Simmons in the lane, off the glass and in.
Boy, what going at full speed, jump stop, straight up in the air, banking it in. That's a very nice-looking play by Lionel Simmons.
And his first field goal of the second half, incidentally. He was only 1 of 4 at the free throw line in the second half. There's a nice pass from Lee to Carter.
Boy, Lee's showing you some good hands. Not only did he make the nice pass, but he made another great catch before he was able to pass the ball.
And it's an 8-point game again. Lee now has the task of trying to check Simmons, and this looks to be a set play for Lionel Simmons. He takes the jumper, and it won't go. And Lee has the rebound.
Sal standing around watching Lionel Simmons, and that's uncharacteristic of the Explorers. There's a walk.
He walked about a half a mile, Carter did. And another turnover. One of the few mistakes, actually, that Perry Carter has made tonight, though.
I don't think Perry Carter's been out of the basketball game there. He may be getting a little tired. The pace has been very, very quick. Both teams pressing.
I should point out, too, that Carter is coming off a bruised kidney, and it caused him to miss the first game that the Buckeyes played, and Randy Ayers has brought him back rather carefully. He's only been playing 28 minutes a game. And you mentioned the fact he's been out there tonight, probably close to that already.
Well, he's already got more than 28 minutes, I guarantee you. We've got 7:43 left in the game. I don't think he's been out at all. Maybe for a minute or two.
Gent comes back on, and Brown comes back, and Davis and Jackson leave for Randy Ayers' Buckeyes.
Now, normally Randy Ayers would be rotating Bill Robinson in for Perry Carter, but this is the kind of a game where the pace has been up and down. It's been really a transition game, and that's not really the kind of game that Robinson's comfortable in.
There's Simmons to the baseline, cut off nicely by Gent, rejection by Carter. Emphatic rejection.
Carter, that shot was so low that Carter actually had the opportunity to just pick it out of the air, and by slapping it out of bounds, it looks good, but the Explorers get the ball.
And Overton takes the jumper, and it won't go, and Lee another rebound. Lee's been a factor since he's been in there.
Trey Lee's really had a good second half.
Now, Jamal Brown, that was not a very good shot trying to kick that up over Lionel Simmons. Wasn't a good outlet pass either, but that pass from Woods to Overton was.
Well, Woods kicked that off his knee, ran it down, then made the pass back to Overton. 2-3 zone again for LaSalle.
Worked very well at the beginning of this half. Gent tries it. And the follow by Carter is no good, but a second follow is.
Boy, what a great job by Carter to go back up a second time.
11 rebounds for Carter now and 17 points.
Now Carter's the back man on that zone, and he just didn't get back in time.
And it's a 10-point game, and we have a timeout with 6 minutes and 43 seconds remaining to be played. LaSalle leads Ohio State by 10.
Salle has turned up the transition basketball. Here, Randy Woods kicks the ball down the court, bounces off his knee. Now he recovers it, makes the pass back to Overton, who scores the layup to give him that 10-point lead. LaSalle has operated very effectively in the transition game. There's Hurd passing it to Simmons. Simmons just takes it to the basket and scores.
And another turnover while we were showing you that replay for Ohio State. And the Explorers have it again with a 10-point lead.
Ohio State has really been hurt by turnovers, particularly here in the second half.
Woods goes right by Baker, but has it rejected by Carter into the hands of Johnson, and he can't get it to go. A lot of pushing and shoving underneath, and a rebound down to Carter. His 12th.
Woods is he's listed at 6 feet tall, but I think he's only about 5'10" or so. Great move by Treg Lee.
Lee has really been a factor in this game and is keeping Ohio State as close as they are.
But Woods, a little guy like that, when he penetrates inside, unless he's got a clear shot, he's got to be looking for somebody to throw the ball to.
Simmons takes the jumper, can't get it, and the rebound is batted around between Lieberst and Carter, and Lieberst, I think, is going to be whistled for the foul.
Lieberst has got called for the foul. I might point out about Lieberst that he comes into this game with a bad ankle. He sprained his ankle in practice the other day, and I've noticed a couple times him limping up and down the court. That time he just was out of position. Now, wait a minute. I thought the foul had been called on Lieberst.
Yeah, so did I.
Obviously not. Must have been called on Perry Carter for fouling Lieberst.
And Simmons is short with a turnaround jumper. Simmons just not shooting it very well here in the second half.
Nice job by Lieberst. We're talking about he and his bad ankle, but he dove on the floor and recovered that ball right there.
Simmons 1 out of 8 in the second half. Johnson's open for the 3. It won't go, and the rebound up and no good. Simmons had a shot at it. It wouldn't go. He's 1 for 9. Here comes Brown all the way to the basket for the Buckeyes.
That ball was going out of bounds. Brown made such a great recovery that he fooled Overton. Overton was going to pick up the ball before it went out of bounds, and Brown got it and spun and headed for the hoop.
Underneath, Lieberst for the basket off Johnson's pass.
Well, if you're Ohio State and you're coming back in the basketball game, one thing you don't want to do is give up easy baskets, and that was just a very, very easy opportunity for Lieberst.
Back to an 8-point game now. Buckeyes had cut it to 6 on Brown's basket.
Overton and Woods really active out in the front of that zone defense. It's difficult for the guards to look inside and find Perry Carter or Treg Lee.
Here's Gent for 3. Got it!
Boy, and that was a long 3. I think that was behind the NBA three-point line.
And it's a 5-point game.
That's a big bucket right there. Now Jamal Brown is going to try to match up man-to-man. Now Treg Lee switches back. Nice job by Lee and Brown to communicate defensively and switch into man-to-man.
Nice play by Lee, stepping in front, knocking it away from Simmons.
Now Simmons really has an advantage outside. As we've seen a couple of times, he's been able to penetrate by Lee, but inside like that, he and Lee are sized similarly, and Lee was able to get away and slap that ball out.
Treg Lee is a junior. Comes out of the same high school, incidentally, St. Joseph's, as Clark Kellogg, who is now a peer of yours, a commentator for ESPN.
Well, Lee is one of those fellas, as Ohio State's going to get the ball back on the miss. Lee is one of those fellas who came in as a very highly touted player. Of course, sat out his freshman year under Proposition 48. Didn't really have the kind of season last year people thought him capable of.
Another turnover. Here is Woods in a foot race with Jackson, and Jackson knocks the ball away, and that saved the basket. Well, not only did he save a basket, but Jackson does a very nice job getting around in front and slapping at the ball, so he didn't get called for the intentional foul, which at that point could have been a backbreaker for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
In the lineup, 25, Jack Hurd for LaSalle.
Boy, that's amazing. 14 steals tonight.
It's really been the difference in the game.
Well, that's one of the things that starts the transition. We've talked about how LaSalle has had points played very well in transition, and when you steal the basketball, generally you've got the offense going in the wrong direction. So as they make the transition to defense, usually you have a 3-on-1, 3-on-2 kind of advantage.
LaSalle actually in one of those situations, should they go on to win this game, it'll run their record to 6-0, and they haven't played brilliantly yet this year, although they have the ability to play brilliantly. In fact, Speedy Morris was saying when they beat Penn, and they just beat Penn by 3, he said, we were fortunate. We were outplayed, we were out-hustled, we were out-coached. All we did was win the game. And tonight, it's a case not so much of who's going to win it, but who's going to lose it.
What a move by Perry Carter, my goodness. He bulls through once again. And Ohio State really needs a defensive series here that results in a rebound or a turnover. They need to stop LaSalle.
They have stopped Lionel Simmons. 1 basket in the second half. 1 for 9. Hurd open for a moment, couldn't get it. And a foul is going to be called on Woods reaching in on Brown.
That was really a tough shot by Hurd. He was only open for a moment, as you correctly pointed out.
16 foul.
Now the Buckeyes with an opportunity to cut into that 5-point lead. And LaSalle switches defense, goes to the man-to-man.
Brown got to the baseline, left it for Jackson, turnaround jumper, got it! And it is a 3-point game.
Looked like LaSalle was trying to trap and just didn't do a very good job rotating out of the trap. Good play by Ohio State. Now we've got a timeout for LaSalle.
Speedy Morris wants a timeout to talk it over, as what was a 10-point lead seemingly just a couple of moments ago has now evaporated down to a 3-point game now. LaSalle's lead has been cut from 10 down to 3 just in the last minute and a half or so. Speedy Morris, he's a participant in every game he coaches. Watch this. I don't know if you read lips, but I can tell you what he said.
No, you can't.
That's true.
You know, but you can't say.
Ohio State on an 11-4 run over the last 3 minutes and 50 seconds. And a foul away from the ball.
It was like the foul's going to be called against Jimmy Jackson, trying to deny Jack Hurd's cut through the lane. Jackson knocks him down, so Hurd is going to go to the free throw line. Hurd, a 67% free throw shooter on the year. Missed a couple earlier in this game.
I'll tell you how this game has ebbed and flowed. LaSalle in the last 4 minutes, a lid on the basket.
Ohio State 5 of 5, LaSalle 1 of 8 in the last 4 minutes.
Hurd at the line. 2:46 remaining in this ballgame. Now a 4-point game. And a 5-point game. Those are 2 big free throws for Hurd.
Well, Ohio State's had some momentum going for them, Barry. They need to keep it going here. They've got to avoid the turnover. I'd like to get a real good look at the basket right here.
And a grab foul. Almost another turnover. But the foul is going to be called on Overton.
That's a real good foul right there, because Perry Clark was alone under the basket. Jimmy Jackson was just trying to control the ball to get it to him. Now, as Hurd down on the other end made 2 pretty big free throws. Jackson with the opportunity right here to get his Ohio State Buckeyes back within 3. His last trip to the free throw line, he missed twice.
Both teams now in the bonus. So this game could come down to a free throw shooting contest. 1 out of 2 for Jackson.
Boy, Simmons goes up above everybody to get that one.
Simmons with 14 rebounds tonight, so he may not be shooting it too well in the second half, but he is controlling the boards. Woods for 3, won't go. And this may go against Carter. And I think it is. Carter pushed off, I'm pretty sure.
It's definitely against Carter. Levers doing a very good job battling for position inside, and that's a big break for LaSalle. Woods with a tough shot. Carter let Levers get inside, and then Carter sat him down with that big arm.
And it puts Levers on the free throw line.
Milko only a 37% free throw shooter on the year, though.
Got that one, though.
That's a nice looking shot for a 37% free throw shooter.
As you see, Perry Carter with his third personal foul. Nobody fouled him. 1 out of 2.
That was a little hard. A little stiff up there.
So the Buckeyes come the other way, now trailing by 5. And with 2 minutes left in the game.
Very close to a 5-second violation right there. Pretty tough man-to-man by LaSalle.
Yeah, Woods was right in Baker's pocket, and another turnover.
Trying to get the ball inside to Perry Carter. He just was not able to handle the pass. Pretty tough pass, and I think you've got to credit that turnover to the Villanova defense. Or to the LaSalle defense, excuse me, the Explorers and shoot.
21 turnovers for Ohio State. And it's pretty tough to win when you turn it over that much.
Salle now able to play with the basketball a little bit before attempting the shot. 30 seconds on the 45-second clock.
They will use the clock as much as they can. 1:30 left. Simmons off the glass and in.
That's the problem for Ohio State. You get down to the end of the game and LaSalle can just give the ball to Simmons to operate like that. It's going to be awfully hard now for the Buckeyes.
Baker in traffic. Nice leave that time for Carter. Baker went for the ball, and Woods controlled it. Gent dives for it. He can't do anything about it.
Good effort by the Buckeyes, but LaSalle able to hang on to the basketball. Down to a minute.
And a 5-point lead. And Ohio State's going to have to attack the ball at some point here. Plenty of time on the shot clock. Still 22 seconds.
And that's where they want to have the basketball right now.
Simmons comes behind the screen. Now it's tied up and gets rid of it nicely. And still there are 10 seconds on the shot clock.
There's only 35 seconds left in the game.
And finally the jumper for Simmons, and he nails it.
You got to be kidding. That was very near the three-point line. A turnaround jump shot where he gets knocked on his fanny and banks it in.
An impossible shot. Jackson misses at the other end. This one, for all intent, is history with 19 seconds left. And LaSalle leads it by 7.
Real good effort by Ohio State that's going to come up just short, Barry. Team with some potential, showing its inexperience.
Gent goes out to the 3-point range, which he had to do, and this one is just about in the bank.
We're going to get an intentional foul now called on against Gent, fouling Lionel Simmons.
Watch Simmons at the other end just a moment ago.
Lionel Simmons has had a difficult time shooting the ball in the second half. He probably hasn't had a tougher shot than this, though. Watch this. Gent knocking him down, banks that in. You know, from that replay there, it appeared he may have been behind the 3-point stripe. He only got 2 for it, but that's a heck of a shot.
And he will shoot the free throws. Now, intentional foul, so he will have 2 free throws, and they will still maintain possession of the ball. Simmons having all kinds of problems at the free throw line.
You mentioned coming into the ball game, shooting only 62% on the year.
Simmons has had his season high in rebounds with 15 coming in here. And he has 21 points. He's had a rather quiet second half offensively, but that's the kind of player he is. He contributes even when he's not shooting well.
Well, as we said, Barry, he had 16 points in the first half, and his team was behind by 2.
And a quick foul is taken this time.
Jamal Brown's going to get called for the foul. That's really all the Buckeyes are left with at the moment, Barry. They've got to try to steal that inbounds pass. If they don't get it, they have to foul immediately.
And it will put the Explorers to the line yet another time. Overton will go to the free throw line. Overton has had a very good second half.
And I think that says something about this guy's value to the team. He played very poorly in the first half, and even with the big half by Simmons, LaSalle was having problems. But in the second half, as you've pointed out, Simmons not quite the offensive factor. This guy, Overton, takes over, and the team just starts to operate more smoothly.
So it appears that the Explorers will get within a couple of days of the new year without having lost a game in this season. Shot misses by Jackson, and here's Overton, who's all the way to the basket with one final jam as time runs out. And the LaSalle Explorers have won it by a 74-62 count. And I don't know if you categorize this as impressive or just categorize it as another win.
It's a pretty good win for LaSalle, sort of typical of their season. They had stretches where they didn't look very good, but they had enough stretches where they played well enough to win the basketball game. They leave the game 6-0. That guy with a pretty big game, Speedy Morris, has to be happy with the win.
He really does, because it is not just Lionel Simmons. It is Lionel Simmons and a lot of talented friends this year. LaSalle wins it 70.
An honor long deserved.
I didn't really feel like they really had anything that they owe me, but I just think that, you know, I didn't really think of it as something that was that important, you know. And so now that's happening, it is, it's very important.
Tonight, Prism Sports presents Wilt Chamberlain Night. The retirement of number 13.